It's time for a TPN or a political napalm news blast. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but we've got a bevy of topics that have some good trends with them. And these are trends that we need to tackle because the right just has major problems when it comes to media and social media. And they keep repeating things over and over and over, and they don't learn their lessons. And it just becomes laughable at this point. If you could imagine somebody running into a carnival funhouse that has those angled glass and angled mirror junctions where, it's the house of mirrors and you run in there and you think you're going down a hallway and you run into a 90-degree angle or V angle of glass and then you just fall on your face. Well, that's basically what we're going to see a lot of in this episode. So we're going to start off with the case of Nancy Mace. If you're not aware, she's been running around Congress with her arm in a sling for the better part of the week, claiming that she was assaulted by a trans person. So here is the story. There was an event that was being held that was believed to be a safe space for members of the LGBTQ community. One James McIntyre walked up to Nancy Mace, simply shook her hand, and said, "Please protect the rights of trans kids." This incident had taken place outside the House of Representatives following an event that honored the anniversary of a landmark child welfare law where Mace, the firebrand Republican, don't you love that term, firebrand Republican? Because it's always associated to human garbage. People like Nancy Mace and Matt Gaetz. I think it was even maybe applied to Marjorie Taylor Greene at some point, but I think if they said that, they would have said a firebrand Sasquatch, not actually referring to her as Homo sapien. So, yeah. Anyway, a speech was given. 3 witnesses at the scene told the imprint, this particular piece of media right here, that their accused colleague, James McIntyre, had done nothing more than shake her hand at the reception and said, "Please protect the rights of transgender people." If you don't know why this handshake and request happened, it is because Nancy Mace had spent the better part of a week a little while ago going around being upset that an incoming member of Congress was a trans person, a trans woman. I think they came from Maryland or Delaware. And said person was going to be using the ladies' room because that's what's appropriate. Nancy Mace and others were having this big to-do over it and putting up stupid signs. And she's running around with a bullhorn. And she's just acting out of her mind. Mind you, this is the lady who showed up to Congress one day wearing a scarlet letter A on her t-shirt, totally not really getting exactly what she was doing, and has also been prominently featured in a video where she is taking an alcoholic drink and basically spit swapping with people around a table as somebody takes the drink and then you spit it in somebody else's mouth. And then they spit it in somebody else's mouth, and so on and so on. And they tell a friend, and they tell 2 friends. Yeah, not exactly the most wholesome looking of videos. And if you see the video, the first person that she sort of kiss, swap, spits, drinks, etc., you may have some of your own questions about Nancy Mace. "I was physically accosted at the Capitol tonight by a pro-trans man. 1 new brace for my wrist and some ice for my arm and I'll heal just fine. The Capitol Police arrested the guy. Your trans violence and threats on my life will only make me double down." There was no threat on her life, you complete and utter pile of garbage. Everybody who witnessed the event said he simply shook her hand, and then she's clowning around Congress with her arm in a sling. Which is completely pathetic. McIntyre has spoken about his experience growing up in foster care and is now a leading voice in policy making in his home state of Illinois. He was even voted the Public Citizen of the Year by the National Association of Social Workers out of Illinois. So this seems to be a very, very good person. I want to express deep disappointment in the fact that Congresswoman Nancy Mace came to a national foster youth event, told participating youth that it was a safe space, and literally had one of them arrested by the Capitol Police for simply shaking her hand and getting asked about trans rights. So the probable thing of the situation is that Nancy simply would have gotten away with shaking the person's hand, believing them to just be a person shaking Nancy's hand. But the moment this conversation occurred, which is what she was known for clowning around about just a few weeks ago, that is probably when she's like, okay, time for me to play the victim. I think actually even Nancy Mace was the one who spray painted her own house and tried to make like the Anarchy A and failed. And it was ridiculously obvious because they spray painted a very safe place of the house, like the front stoop instead of the house, and just the paint easily washed off. I think it was Nancy Mace, but I don't remember. But she has a history of these dramatic events and everything. Okay, actually, here is the lady that she was rallying against, Sarah McBride. Sarah McBride had come down to North Carolina when the governor, Pat McCrory, had done the infamous bathroom law. Sarah took a picture in a bathroom, a ladies' room, here in North Carolina, and when Nancy was going on her little tirades and everything, this picture cropped back up and caused some problems for Sarah. Sarah was protesting North Carolina's bathroom law that actually was legitimately terrible. I don't care what you feel about members of the LGBTQ community or trans people or bathrooms. It was objectively a terrible situation for North Carolina, as it cost us millions of dollars as people like Bruce Springsteen had pulled out. And I think an NCAA tournament had pulled out over here. I know as a sporting event decided to not take place in North Carolina because of that. And I think it was the NCAA tournament or a portion of it. Pat McCrory also claimed to have fixed unemployment in North Carolina by doing this one weird trick. Click here to find out. Well, what that weird trick was is he shortened unemployment and he lessened the amount that you could get. So if previously you could get $50,000 and you could be on it for a year, I mean, that's incredibly crazy, but just we're using this as example. He said you can only get $25,000 a year and you can only be on it for 6 months, and you have to wait the other 6 to reapply at the end of a year. So why that was so important for him is if you had 10 people who were unemployed and 5 of them hit that mark where they have exhausted their unemployment, their time is up, their money is up, the coffer is dry, you are no longer on unemployment according to the stats. Well, the thing is, yes, you are still unemployed, but you are not statistically available to the state anymore. So when those 5 people hit their mark where their unemployment has run out, he goes, yay, look at me, pat me on the back. I just reduced unemployment in North Carolina by 50%. He actually did not. He just obscured the statistics on it. The same amount of people were unemployed. They just simply disappeared from the system. Before we go here, Elliot Hinkle said McIntyre shook her hand and made a comment about how many transgender youth are in foster care, said, please, they need your support. From what I saw, it was a normal handshake and interaction that I would expect any legislator to expect from anyone as a constituent. And later, Hinkle said one of Mace's aides returned to the reception to ask McIntyre his name and whether he would repeat what he had told the legislator. 2 other people who witnessed this interaction confirmed the description of it. So McIntyre left, but then was summoned back by the police. Hinkle said, sends a chilling effect of if you're not actually safe to go to Capitol Hill and share an opinion that's true for you, that isn't violent, you're going to be claimed that you were physically assaulting somebody and the police were called. So Nancy Mace is just a terrible human being. But I said we were going to talk about trends in the beginning of the episode, and it reminded me of two other events, one of which was Cracky Lindell when he held his Crackposium back in the summer of 21 or 22, I think it was. I think it was maybe 21. Well, when Cracky Lindell held his Crackposium, it was 21 because this is dated August 17th of 2021. So when he held that cyber Crackposium that summer, that's when he was going to reveal all this stuff about how the 2020 election was stolen in favor of Biden and it was stolen from Trump. Needless to say, the Crackposium yielded no results. A bunch of neutral network technicians went to that event to examine what his packet data was. Did he have IP addresses, MAC addresses? Did he have any routing of, the data for these claims and everything? And it was a complete wash. It had technical difficulties. Somebody got hit with a cease and desist on a stream. It was a nothing burger top to bottom. As it was beginning to fail and nobody was really caring what Mike was doing, Mike was going through the lobby of a hotel going towards an elevator when somebody stopped and talked to him. Lindell would then claim that he was attacked. However, Lindell's own friends and people there said it was absolute bullshit. Nobody touched Lindell in a harmful way whatsoever. Lindell claimed he filed a report of the assault with the Sioux Falls Police Department and is conducting his own investigation how a photo seeker could have shoved an object between his ribs, leaving him unable to move his arm. The problem is they all watched Lindell go up a glass elevator and he was perfectly fine. The person supposedly approached him and asked if he could take a photo with Lindell. It was a normal interaction. And then he would go on to claim that the guy assaulted him. So this Bjorn Gino, oh boy, that's a rough one, even for me. So Jeff, okay. So Jeff took a picture using the phone of the guy who was shaking Lindell's hand, talking to him, and that's all that it was. Lindell's recounting of the incident last week matched much of Jeff's description, except Lindell said a second man wrapped his arm around him and basically prison shanked him on the side of the ribs. He pointed to the photo that showed the man had a yellow object in his hands. However, everybody said it didn't happen. Now, originally, what I had recalled was that Lindell kept saying he filed a police report, and then the Sioux Falls police were saying no, he didn't. As a matter of fact, because he kept saying it so much, they went and approached him, saying, you keep telling me, or you keep telling us that you've talked to us. You haven't. What is going on here? What is this assault? Is this real? And he told a conservative show called Flashpoint that the man had used his finger, but he was also checked by medics for puncture wounds and nothing happened. And everybody said nothing happened. And he also said that Lindell went up on a glass elevator and looked perfectly fine. So it seems exactly like the Nancy Mace situation over here, except he claimed he talked to the police, and the police originally were like, no, you haven't. The other thing it reminds me of is the infamous Rudy clap on the back. So let's take a look at this. So this happened at, I believe, it's a ShopRite. So ShopRite is a popular grocery chain in the New York area and everything. And a guy walks by Rudy over there. That guy claps him on the back. You can see it's he's wearing a mask. It was, the COVID era and everything. And Rudy was claiming he got rocked. He felt like he got hit by a boulder because of that. Let me tell you, I grew up on Long Island, New York. I have a very big Italian family that I grew up with, 1/4 Italian. It was probably the biggest amount of family exposure that I had growing up out of all of my ethnicities. This is no different than any Italian uncle who sees you at a family get-together and is like, hey, political napalm, what's up? I mean, it's light as hell. This lady immediately defends him like it's a child. And she's like, oh, poor baby, did you fall down on the monkey bars and everything? It is such a light tap. And Rudy is saying he couldn't use his arm. It actually was crazy. The guy did face a misdemeanor charge, but I think it was knocked down quite a bit. I got hit as if a boulder hit me. It knocked me forward a step or two. It didn't knock me down, but it hurt tremendously. It's utterly ridiculous. And then he says he's yelling curse words and everything. I don't know if this part was ever true or, verified whatsoever, but this has to stop. It could have been so much worse. No, it wouldn't have been so much worse. You were in a public area. Nobody was going to assault you in this crowd of people. I mean, look, watch this. Bunk knocked him forward. It didn't knock him forward. It barely sent a ripple through his left shoulder. It's just these three over here, the cracking Lindell one, the Rudy clap, and the Nancy Mace situation, all just hysterical. It's just the right trying to want to be victims all the time. Now we're going to go into a little bit of a different topic. So this has been pretty... Twitter has been rife with this one today because of the pardons and the commuted sentences that Biden did. The information just hit, even though, at least in the case of these three, this was done back in November. So Yanjun, Ji, and Shanlin were three Chinese people who had their sentences commuted and were released, and they are part of a prisoner exchange with China. The one everybody is keying off of is Shanlin, who was in possession of a server in his house that was on a peer-to-peer network, and he possessed indecent photos of children. At the time of the arrest, from what I have gathered in researching this, and that's kind of a big key here, researching, is that some of the pictures were quite young and very horrible. When he was arrested, they asked him, well, what do you think is the youngest that you have? And he basically listed mid-teens, but according to what I had read, it was far lower than that. So people are keying off on this man, Shanlin. However, the fact is that Shanlin is being released to China so that we can get three of our people back. Of the three people, one of them was even sentenced to death for a while in China for a crime in which no materials, no evidence was ever presented. So he was languishing in Chinese jails in China with no real court system working for him out there. No real trials, just rotting away in jail, basically being near tortured with the conditions in these jails. And there was no evidence. I believe it was like a drug trafficking charge, but nobody could ever show that he sold anything to anybody or that he had any drugs. So these three here are part of a prisoner exchange. They're going to China, and we're getting three American citizens back. So it's not like Shanlin is just on the streets. What he did was terrible. There is no defending what he did. He knew of the items being around. It is entirely possible when doing peer-to-peer networks, things are uploaded to you that you don't know in exchange for things to download. This goes back to like Napster and Kazaa and everything like that. But he knew of it because he responded to the cops when they asked. Did he know how horrible things were? It doesn't honestly matter. They were horrible, and he knew what he had on his computer, and he knew what was going on. Bad stuff, but you get a lot of these rightoids that are responding to Biden and this news with this Shanlin situation, totally missing the point that Shanlin is going to China, and it is part of a prisoner swap. This person said, Community Notes, can you confirm? And yes, Community Notes has confirmed in several of the posts about this that there is context that is missing and that he is going off to China. And we're getting our citizens back, including some that should not have been held over there. And you get so many of these writers who don't even want to research it. They just want to react and everything. And there's just no critical thinking. There's no researching whatsoever. When I saw this, and I saw this on a bunch of posts, I immediately researched Shanlin Jin and found out exactly what was happening. And I had facts to back me up and how I felt about the situation. Not these people. Another common thing has been discussions of Hunter Biden's pardon. And the right has been losing their minds on this one. And this guy posts a Jeff Foxworthy thing. If you need a preemptive pardon, you might be a criminal. Totally forgetting the fact that Trump was asked to preemptively pardon a whole slew of people on his way out the door in the end of 2020 and early 2021, including Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Andy Biggs, I believe, was another one. So they're saying that, oh, if you need a preemptive pardon, you're immediately a criminal. Yet, that's exactly what happened with Trump. I mean, I don't know about his daughters. Oh, daughter's father-in-law. Yeah, his daughter's father-in-law needed a pardon. Several members of his team requested pardon. Yes, they absolutely they did. And again, it's like watching somebody run into a house of mirrors at full speed and just bonking 2 steps in and falling to the ground. Another question has been coming up about whether Trump is a convicted felon because he hasn't been sentenced yet. And you got a lot of people going, he hasn't been sentenced. He hasn't been sentenced. He hasn't been sentenced. He hasn't been sentenced. He's not convicted. He's not convicted. No, yes, he absolutely is. You cannot be sentenced until you are convicted. That is the A. This is the B. The sentencing phase of a criminal case takes place after the defendant has been found guilty. So he's been found guilty. He's been convicted. It doesn't matter when or where the sentencing occurs. You're convicted. That's not going to be changed unless it's appealed and the appeal wins. As of right now, he was out of his appeals in this particular case that's being talked about. So, yet again, MAGA just doesn't want to do even the most tiniest bit of research. Here, as Tristan Snell points out, is that Republicans want to push to eliminate the IRS's direct file program, which allows you to file your taxes for free. People in this thread were like, things that didn't happen and, all this kind of stuff. And then the proof is out there. There are 29 Republicans who are backing it. And you get a lot of people that immediately when something negative comes out about Trump and his plans, especially if they think it might actually hurt them when they do a little bit of thinking, no, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. What's your source? What's your source? And then it gets revealed that it's actually real and you never hear from that person again. They never come back or delete their post and go, oh, whoops, or blah, blah, blah. But you get a lot of these people who think, yeah, let's do away with the IRS. And I'm like, who do you think, who are you going to pay your taxes to then? Doge, Vivek, and Elon? Is that who you're going to give your tax money to? And this lady, Catherine R., is completely off a rocker. The only people who could file for free ever are those who fill out the 1040 Easy, which is less than 15% of the population, decreasing every year. Fact check says no, that is completely untrue. In this little bit of research from March of 24 through February 24th, 943,000 taxpayers had filed tax returns this tax season, which is a 9.7 increase from last year when it was 860. They predict it's going to continue to go up. So then you have people like this that are just making up stats. Just, oh, yeah, 50% of the people, and it's decreasing every year. Now, I haven't done the math on this claim, but this portion of it and decreasing every year is immediately debunked by this directly from the IRS. Absolutely just pathetic. And everybody's saying her prove it, prove it, prove it, prove it, prove it, prove it. And this person's like, oh, she's already proven it in this thread. No, she hasn't. I mean, it's just, yeah, of course, she is never coming back to this, never defending it, never producing stats or anything like that. So conversations with MAGA are just pathetic. Here's another fact check that was very, very interesting. Representative Jasmine Crockett was talking to Mr. DeJoy of the post office. Now, you may remember Trump appointed DeJoy, Trump appointed DeVos, and they were literally Satan picks for their respective agencies that they sit on top of. DeVos is gone, fortunately, but DeJoy is still around. So Jasmine was asking, hey, when are these trucks going to get AC? You said you're getting these electrical trucks and you're rolling them out, and these have AC. Which to me, it's really, really scary to think that people are driving around in federal government trucks for their government jobs, and they're not even afforded air conditioning. I certainly hope they have heat, but my God, that condition is ridiculous. I don't. Whoever has walked into their car somewhere in the summer, I mean, be it up on Long Island where I grew up, be it down south in North Carolina or Texas or Florida, who's ever gotten in their car in the middle of the summer at 2 o'clock in the afternoon after their car's been hanging out in the parking lot and opened the door to their car and literally inhaled oven air that scorches the back of your throat for a split second? And to think that these people are working for a critical post office and government employees and they don't even have air conditioning, it's terrible. So she brings up the case of Eugene Gates, who died on the job when exposed to 115-degree heat. And a bunch of these people are like, oh yeah, when does it get up to 115 degrees over here? Like this person, when did it get to 115? Texas or the Dallas area had something like 53 100 plus days. Austin had 32 days over 100. Dallas typically has 20, but in 2023 they had over 50. We don't have all the stats for 24 as of yet, but in September, 23 days were on record above 100. This heat index will show you that at 100 degrees with 40% humidity, 45% humidity, your feels like is going to be 115. I checked, and Dallas has a summer humidity of about 60 to 70%. That means at 95 degrees, you're going to feel like it's 115, 120, 124. Positively ridiculous that these people are being subjected to it, but you have these people who are going, okay, when does it get that way? When does it get that way? Blah, 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 blah. And you know what? People just do a little bit of research. It doesn't take but a tiny bit of research to find that stuff out. I mean, where was the one? that was really, really simple. Is it this Tristan one? Yes. Okay. I want to show you what they're not doing. Watch this. Republicans pushing Trump to eliminate the IRS's direct. Watch this. Right click, search Google. Boom. There it is. 29 Republicans want to do it. Republicans are asking for it. IRS shakeup. Republican lawmakers doing. It's right here. All these people who kept saying to Tristan, I'll take things that never happened for 200, please, Alex. Yeah, just do that. Just do exactly what I just did, and then you'll find out the truth, and then you're not going to look like an idiot when you post something like that. So as we close out the video, I just want to go ahead and share this with you where Trump was in, I think this was in Notre Dame, and watch the people around him because it certainly looks like they're smelling something. We're going to start with this lady. That is not a nose rub. She's not pinching the nose. She's not scratching the nose. That is the knuckle over the nostrils to prevent the smell. Watch it again. Yep. And it's continued contact. There's no scratch. There's no pinch like when you're trying to get something right out of the bottom of your nose there and everything. No, pure smell. Somebody coughs near him, and everybody across the aisle from him is just eye daggering him. It's just steely eye daggers. She leans forward and looks at him. I mean, it's the diaper rumors are, I would say at this point, just 100% true. I think it's been proven time and time again, and this certainly seems to corroborate it. And those two look like they're sharing a laugh at his expense. They start talking while they're looking at him, and then the lady starts laughing. He makes that face like, yeah. Nobody wants to talk to him. He just does not know what to do with himself in public when he's not up on a stage, with the adoration of his MAGA cult rallies, or he's going to the UFC, and Dana White's got everybody cheering for him and everything like that. He can't handle when it's not those things. Just go back and look at the video of him at the World Series, and there's people up in the booth with him literally crying because he's getting mercilessly booed by the World Series attendees on that one. And like he waves and Melania waves and the boos start in, and he just has this look on his face like, wow, totally didn't expect that. And he's trying so hard not to let his face show it, but he's not good at it, and he fails because he's just not used to being out of the hot tub of his own design. He just bathes in the hot tub of MAGA adoration, and when he doesn't get it, he doesn't know what to do. Look at the video of him getting laughed at by the UN when he was president the first time, and he was like, oh, I didn't expect that reaction, and they just laugh at him even harder. So yeah, there you go. There's the news blast for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and have yourself a good one.